Alright, let's look at the first question in equations, which is question number 1 in chapter 5. A buyer has spent 30,151 rupees on 550 units of a particular item. The first 100 units cost 50 rupees each. The next 150 units cost 8,250 in total. The next batch cost 11,200 in total, and final 100 cost X rupees each, and find the value of X. So let's draw up this. So the total cost is 30,551. Total units is 550. Now these 550 units have been divided into batches. How is that? 100 units, first 100 units cost 50 rupees each. Then what will be the total cost? 100 into 50. Next 100 units, 150 units cost 8,250. Totally 8,250. So we don't need this, we don't know. That's why, and 8,250 is the next batch. We don't know what the batch is, how much it is, but it costs 11,200 in total. Finally, the final 100 batch cost X rupees each. So it will be 100X. Now the total of these is only equal to 30,551. So it's easy because we have only one unknown variable. We don't need this part, not necessary. But we need for understanding what happened. Therefore, the addition of these three items is 24,450. So I will write 24,450 plus 100x is equal to 30,551. That's the equation. Now solve for x. We know that if you want to find x, you have to make x the subject. To make x the subject, you must take off all these things to this side. To do that, you use the opposite sign rules. So 24,450, if you are going to remove it this side, you must minus 24,450 this way, and if you minus the one side, you must do the same on the other side of the equation. This is what happened. Therefore, it will be equal to 100x because this part becomes 0 equals 30,551 minus 24,450 is 6,101. Therefore, x equals 6,101 divided by 100. X therefore equals to 61.01. Okay. They are asking it. Okay. So here, so it's 30,151. Sorry. So it's 30,151. So basically replace the figure with the correct one. So accordingly you will get the right answer. So 30,151 minus 24,450 is 5,701. And 5,701 divided by 100 is 57.0. Okay. The initial figure. Right. So 57.01 is answer A. Alright. Next we have question 3. If the cost equals this equation 3,800 minus 24p, and revenue equals 410p minus 22p squared, where p is price per unit. How would you express your profit per unit? They've given profit equal revenue minus cost. So basically they are asking the profit equation. Right. So profit, we know profit equals revenue minus expenses. What's the equation for revenue given? 410p minus 22p to the power 2 or p squared. Okay. Whereas the cost equation is 3800 minus 24p. Therefore, profit equals 410p minus 22p to the power 2. The entire thing minus 3800 minus 24p within brackets will be equal to profit. So how you solve this further is, well, you could remove the bracket first. 410p minus 22p squared minus 3800 minus 24p. So 400, you can minus for 410p with 24p because they are of the same category p. They are only multiplied by p, so of the same category. So 410 minus 24 will be 386p minus 22p squared and the remaining 3800. This should be your simplified formula for profit. The last answer D. Alright, next question, question 11. Okay, so they want us to do question 11 and 12. Fine. So, a company makes two models of CD players known as basic and advanced. In 2018, it made 4,000 units of basic and 3,000 units of advanced, and their total production cost were 27 million in 2018. But in 2019, they made 3,000 basic units and 5,000 advanced units with a total production cost of 34 million. Now they are asking the production cost for the advanced model. Here we have to use simultaneous equations. So first we develop the equations. We know that there are two, one for 2018 and one for 2019. Let's say B stands for basic and A stands for advanced. Now, in 2018, we produced 4,000 units of basic. So, 4,000 B or 4,000 multiplied by B, which is also 4,000 B, plus we made 3,000 units of A. So, we are basically making the production cost equation, which is those total equals to 27 million. Fine. So we will have to assume that the individual cost for both basic and advanced is the same. Okay, because they are asking for the total cost. So this is equal to 27,000. 27 million, let's put it in thousands. Okay, or we can put it in millions. Let's put it in millions for clarity. So what this B is actually, I'm going to put it as basic cost, unit cost. B represents basics unit cost and A represents advances unit cost, not the advance unit. Okay. So this is one equation. So the second equation is 3000 of B and 5000 of A. Same thing, 3000 of B, 5000 of A is equal to 34 million. Now, this is our first equation, this is our second equation. Alright, now what you need to do is make either B side or A side equal. So first step is making either B's value or A's value equal. I choose B's value. No, I'm gonna choose okay, let's choose something that is more divisible. So okay, I'm gonna choose B's value, that's fine. So I'm gonna choose the first equation and make it equal. First equation B should be equal to second equation's B. First equation's B is 4000 B. Second equation's is 3000 B. So how much should I multiply to get 3000 from 4000? It's actually 1 divided by 3. So 4000 into divided by 3. So basically 4000 multiplied by 75, 0.75 will give me 3000. If that's the case, I have to multiply 0.75 to the entire first equation. So there will be is a second equation where I'll be developing, where I multiply 4000 by 0.75 into B plus 3000 into 0.75 into A equal 27 million into 0.75. Okay. Accordingly, we will get the new equation, which is I name it as the third equation. We have already two equations, so the new equation, which will be 4000 into 0.75, 3000B plus 3000 into 0.75. 2250A equals 27, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into 0.75 is 202.5 million. Then let's go to, so this is our third equation. Let's go to the second step where we therefore equal equations 2 and 3. Because we made the first equation's B value to equal the second equation's B value. Now we have to compare the second equation therefore with the third equation. It will be basically we have to minus, actually it should be minus equations 2 and 3. So 3000B should minus from the third equation's 3000 plus 5000A must minus the third equation's 2250 and that should be equal to 34 million. I'm sorry about the initial value. 27 million into 0.75 is actually 20,250,000. Yeah, So 34 million, here a 0 should go out, minus 20,250,000. Okay, now this we have to solve. So 3000B minus 3000B equal to 0, but 5000A minus 2250A will be 2750A, and that will be equal to 34 million minus 20,250,000, which is 13,750,000. So so A will therefore be equal to 13,750,000 divided by 2750. It is equal to 5,000. But they have now, so that means the unit cost of A is 5,000. Okay. So if unit cost of A is 5,000 rupees, what is the unit cost of B? Let's apply to the equation. So if A is 5,000, let's substitute A's value to equation 2. So I'll get 3000B plus 5000 into 5000 of A is equal to 34 million. So 5,000 into 5,000 is 25 million, 34 million minus 25 million is 9 million, 9 million divided by 3000 is B equals 3000. Well, there's a small thing here. Now, actually, it's a question. Actually, they've not mentioned whether this is 4,000 in millions or in thousands. Like, they've made a mistake over here, because if you check the answer, it's basically 5. Because the reason we got 5,000 here is because we put the millions. But the answers have not put the million. They've like basically taken 13,750 by 2,750, which will be equal to 5. So your answer accordingly, if we are to take the millions of, A's unit cost will therefore be equal to 5, and B's unit cost will therefore be equal to 3. It's basically they could have said that these 3,000 units, B's units also are in millions. Then it would have matched. But yeah. Alright, so the answer for A 11th question is 5 rupees per unit, assuming the cost is in not in millions but in thousands. Okay, we assumed, this is both assumed, cost is in thousand, but in the exam they will give it to you clearly. Okay, and better use the full amounts so that you avoid the risk of getting the wrong answer in the end, right? So we used exactly as how they said, but I think there's they have missed to mention one regarding, they created a confusion on the thousands and millions. So anyways, if assuming that they are in thousands, all are in thousands, so this will be a answer. Okay, so this is the answer for question 11. Unit cost of A is 5, and for question 12 the unit cost of basic model is 3. Alright, so with that we covered simultaneous part of the equations as well. And next let's look at chapter 6. So the first one is question number 2, which is solving this question. Solve the inequality 3x plus 4 is less than 2x plus 1. We know in inequalities, even though these signs are given, we should assume when solving, we should assume that it's an equal sign. Accordingly, 3 into x plus 4 should be equal to, so basically they've given this sign, but we can, in our mind, we can think it's the equal sign and simply solve an algebra equation as we usually do. 2x plus 1. So this is brackets. I've said earlier in the lectures that a sign before the bracket is the multiplication sign. So 3 multiply, so if you are to remove the bracket, you have to multiply 3 by x, which will give 3x, and you multiply 3 by 4. You have to multiply to each value within the bracket and then get 3x plus 12 less than 2x plus 1. Then bring x to one side because we need to find the value of x. So we need to make x the subject. 3x minus 2x is therefore equal to, actually less than 1 minus 12. We brought plus 12 to this side, which is minus 12. Actually we minus 12 from this way, so we minus 12 from the other side as well. You remember only when it comes to these solving inequalities, there is a rule that when you multiply or when you divide, the inequality sign changes to the opposite sign. Remember this is a learning point. Inequality sign changes to the opposite sign. So for instance, if you're basically, let's say you're, okay, I can show you. We are going to divide, no. Okay, let's say this is, instead of 3, this is 4, okay, for learning purpose. So this is 4 and here also it's 4. Now we will get the answer 2x less than minus 11. Okay. Let's say this is 13, so that I want to make it free from decimals. Okay. So it's minus 12. Then x, you have to find only x now. So to find x, you have to divide 2x by 2. Then only it will leave x alone. Once you divide it, remember, see this sign is facing this way. Now it should face the other way. This is the important part. Okay? And this side you divide. So this is where this rule applies. When you multiply or divide, the inequality signs changes to the opposite sign, which is this. Right? So this will be equal to x is greater than, you should say, minus 6. This is the final answer. But in this question, I just changed these figures for you all to teach you all about this sign. Okay. So yeah, this is how you basically do it. Let's go to the 6th question. Okay, they are asking to show the graph of y equal 2x. Which line represents y equal to x? I taught this. Y equal to x actually goes from 0. Because you see there is no, now if you see normal linear equation format is y equal ax plus b, where b is the constant when x equals 0, right? Basically the y value, y axis value. So here, if we are to substitute the value, the line equation they gave, y equal to x, it means they've given y equal, a is the 2, a is number 2 and x is x as it is, but they didn't give anything else, no. That means B is equal to 0. In that case, our line can never be on this y-axis. So it's definitely starting from 0. But is it, then it leaves us with the option B and C. But let's analyze. So we have to check whether it's B or C by only substituting the values of the number line to the equation. If you substitute 1 to this equation, you get y equals 2. At 1, y is equal to 2. It's correct as per the line B, isn't it? Because y's 2 is here, and as you see the cursor, x's 1 is here. So it intersects here, right? Actually, its point is over here, which is on the line B. And if you take when x equal to, y will be equal to 4, which is again on line B. So the correct line representing y equal to 2x is line B. Okay, so you substitute the values and check. Answer B. Next, question 13. Okay, they are asking state the variable cost per unit for the business. So for that we have to read this. The following information relates to next two questions. The graph below represents the total cost of the company. Okay. State the fixed cost. Well, fixed cost is when output is 0, there should be a value. So it's basically 2 million. Right? But the variable cost per unit, well, it is the gradient of the line. We've discussed that in y equal this format. Sorry. In this format, A is equal to change in y-axis, divided by change in x-axis. So the change in y-axis, you should get a coordinate to check it. So I'm going to select from this graph 2 and 2, 4 and 4, because it seems okay to select those because it's the point there's a reasonable point we can select. We have to actually, but however, select a point on the line. So it's a bit difficult because it's not on a graph paper sheet. So it's very difficult to actually get some point, but let's choose the intersection point. I'm going to choose 0 and 2. So in coordinates, we always write the x coordinate first and the y coordinate next. So let's select the coordinates. Now the x-axis is in thousands and the y-axis is in millions. So I'm going to choose, I'll choose a point. I should choose actually a point on the line to find my variable cost. So I'm going to choose 0 and 2 million first. When x equals 0, y equals 2 million. 6 zeros. And when y equals 0, x is minus 3000. Okay. I'm going to take that value as 3, which is here. Now, get the change in y-axis. We know the value at last is the y value. So 2 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minus 0 should be because it's 0 in the next coordinate. And the change in y-axis is from 0 to minus 3000. See, You do never put simply minus, you minus and minus the 3000. So that minus minus becomes plus. So you will get 2 million divided by 3000, which is equal to 667. So it's a bit, in the exam they'll give you clearly the numbers, because the answer is a bit different. It's because they've chosen another coordinate instead of this. It doesn't matter, but what is what but as long as they give a clear in a graphical graph paper format, it's fine. Otherwise, very difficult to track the coordinate on the line, you know. So, but basically they've selected is 4000 units at, so basically it's like 4, it's stopping at 4, but they've taken 5 million. So it's, but in the exam they'll give it clearly. So but the approach is basic, is the same. So the coordinate chosen, remember, choose the coordinate on the on the line on the line. Okay, it should be on, not be below the line or above the line, not something like that. It should be on the line. Remember that, that's the key point. If you choose something outside, then it doesn't, because this reflects the gradient. And now I didn't conclude that. This 667 is A, right? This is what we found. But what can we say that A is equal to the variable cost? We can say that. Remember, as a rule, the gradient of a total cost line is always equal to the variable cost per unit, because but as the output increases every unit, the variable cost makes the total cost to change. So it performs the same function as the gradient. That's the reason we say variable cost equals to the gradient, as it performs the same function. Alright? Okay. Next, let's go to question 30. So they are asking, so let's see if it's okay. So it's relating to this information. A company manufactures a product for which fixed cost is 10,000, labor cost 6 rupees per unit, and variable cost is 14 rupees per unit. Selling price is fixed at 40 rupees per unit. They are asking for the graph of a function with a dome shape. Which of the following statements are true? Now, what does a dome shape look like? So, dome shape is basically a curve. Okay, it is basically a curve. So, your total cost curve is, it moves upwards as a curve. So, they are just asking the graph, they are not relating to total cost or anything. Simply they are saying, for a graph which has a curve, right, a quadratic equation, which of the following statements are true? The gradient constant at any point? No, it isn't. It changes at every point and we find it by using the differentiation formula. Let's see. B. Before the peak, the line has a negative gradient. At the peak, gradient is 0. After the peak, the line has a positive gradient. No, it isn't. Let's see the next. Before the peak, the line has a positive gradient. That is correct. And what they mean by peak? Peak is the maximum point or minimum point. Okay. You must have learnt maximum and minimum point in the curve. So the maximum point of the curve is the peak. So before the peak, they are saying the line has a positive gradient. That is true. And at the peak, the gradient is equal to 1? No. At the peak, the gradient is always equal to 0. But after the peak, that means after the maximum point, the line has a negative gradient. That is correct. Okay, so so this gradient being V1 is wrong. Okay, so let's see answer D. Before the peak, it's a positive one. At the peak, it's a zero gradient. And after the peak, it's a negative gradient, which is correct. So remember this, that if you to find the main point that you should remember is at the peak, the gradient is zero. So differentiation formula must be equal to 0 when you are at the maximum or minimum point. You have to do it. So and before the minimum or maximum point, the line will have a positive gradient, and after the peak, it's a negative gradient. Okay. So basically, this what also they mean is, remember this is only for bell-shaped curves. That means it has only the peak is what they refer only to the maximum point, not the minimum. Remember that it's not the minimum, it's the maximum point. Okay, fine. So the answer will be, so we finish graphs, a recap of graphs. Next, let's look at chapter 7, descriptive statistics.